The night before Halloween has traditionally been a night of pranks and mischief in much of the Midwest and some of the northern United States, but in Detroit it's referred to as Devil's Night and has been a tradition almost as long as the city has existed. Devil's Night in Detroit can probably be traced back to mid-1880s Ireland, where the Night of Mischief was originally attributed to fairies and goblins, but it was also a time for young boys to have some fun. In Ireland, boys would carve spooky faces in turnips and scare unwary travelers as they would tie strings to cabbages and pull them along the fields to scare people. The Scots had one really obnoxious prank where they would pull up a cabbage stalk, get it smoking, and shove it in the keyhole at someone's door, so that when that person came home, they would find a house filled with a noxious smelling vapor. In the United States, the holiday morphed into a night of soaping windows and toilet papering trees. In other words, October 30th was the trick to Halloween's treat, and gave the suburban kids a night of rebellion and anarchy. As widespread as Devil's Night seems to be, many parts of the U.S., most notably states in the South and the West, never heard of the Devil's Night and apparently reserve all their mischief hijinks for Halloween. Though the night before Halloween has been associated with mischief and mayhem for centuries, the holiday began to have serious consequences in Detroit during the Civil Rights Movement, according to the book Devil's Night and Other True Tales of Detroit by Detroit native ZE'EV CHAFETS. The Detroit riots of 1967 ignited when decades of extreme poverty, racial profiling, and police brutality against African Americans in the city reached an apex. The first fires were set during anti-police brutality riots in the summers of '67. But over the years, pre-Halloween arson in Detroit became a sinister epidemic in the Motor City that had little to do with organized rebellion. Instead, the fires turned into annual acts of vandalism that authorities struggled to control for decades. The crimes became more destructive in Detroit's inner-city neighborhoods and included hundreds of acts of arson and vandalism every year. The arson and destruction reached a peak in the mid to late 1980s with more than 800 fires set in 1984. Devil's Night got that particular name after anti-police riots in Detroit led to a tradition of setting fires to local buildings and dumpsters year after year. In 1994's The Crow, Devil's Night plays an integral role. The film's lead antagonist, Top Dollar, played by Michael Wincott, claims to be the inventor of Devil's Night, having lit the first fires only to be imitated in the following years. It was the Devil's Night violence that led to the death of Eric Craven, played by Brandon Lee, and it was the date of his resurrection as the Crow a year later. Region to region, the night has different names, but the activities remain very much the same: ringing doorbells, egging cars, dumping rotten produce, and setting bags of poop on fire. In Camden, New Jersey, they call the holiday Mischief Night. In Cincinnati, Ohio, it's called Damage Night, while other parts of Ohio it is called Beggar's Night. In other regions of the U.S., it is also known as Doorbell Night, Trick Night, Corn Night, Tic-Tac Night, and Goosey Night. In Canada, it is either known as Gate Night, where the farmers' gates are left open, leaving livestock to roam free, or Mat Night, where pranksters steal doormats and switch them with the neighbors. The later term is unique to Quebec only. The night is known as Cabbage Night in Vermont and New Hampshire, thanks to an old Scottish fortune-telling tradition. Young girls will pull cabbages to examine them and try to divine who their husbands will be. Of course, once those cabbages have told these young ladies all they could, the only thing left to do was to throw the cabbages at someone's door and run away. While the arson in Detroit is the most well-known modern-day form of destruction associated with the night before Halloween, vandalism and violence have been rampant as mischief nights for centuries, and the violence always seems to increase during economic unrest. Additionally, Halloween itself reportedly began to be associated with witches in 1590 after the North Berwick witch trials, which may have led to the deaths of as many 4,000 people that began in Scotland. Angels Night was established in the 1990s in Detroit as a response to the escalating violence associated with Devil's Night. During the days and nights leading up to Halloween, members of the community would work in tandem with local authorities in an effort to report suspicious activity and potential acts of arson. As a result, arson and crimes associated with Devil's Night have dropped to an all-time low. A curfew still remains in effect in Detroit on October 30th to this day. Despite the fact that Devil's Night is no longer the feared event it used to be, Devil's Night has permeated into a pulp culture in music, film, and literature. Several Detroit-based hip-hop outfits have extolled to the violence and the chaos of Devil's Night, including Esham in 1993 and the Insane Clown Posse in 1998. The debut album of hip-hop supergroup D12, which features Eminem, was titled Devil's Night. In 2015, Mayor Dugan ended Angels Night, the mobilization of thousands of volunteers to patrol the streets, so that residents could focus on the positive activities of Halloween. Hey everyone, this video was a suggestion by one of my patrons, I Am Raven. This was a great video to do, the history of Devil's Night, the night before Halloween. If you want to help out the channel, make sure you hit that like button. If you're new here, make sure you hit the subscribe button. If you want to help out financially, there's always Teespring, or if you new, then there's also my Patreon, multiple levels and tiers. So hope you enjoyed the video, and I will talk to you guys later. Be water, my friends.